Today we're going to go through the breakdown of part of a song. The band is called Lip. Very cool, unique sound. Almost a cross between the sound of Nirvana's Bleach album and Fugazi style a little bit. It's the only way I can sort of describe them. Very unique. I'm going to go through the tracks. We're going to go over everything. We're going to hear just the drums, just the bass, just the guitars. It's only one section of the song, though, because we're in the middle of mixing this project, this album, and it's not released yet, so we're only going to do one little part. A little bit about it from my memory is we tracked it in this room. If you look at my other drum videos, that's basically how we tracked it. I tracked it, my Tama Art Star 2. The drummer is amazing. His name's Ronnie. He's involved with a bunch of projects. Three-piece band, great bass player, great guitar player, very good all-around band. So, with that being said, I would like to go over the basics. So channels 1 through 12 are the drums. The only EQ I'm using on the console, or the only EQ actually I'm using at all, is channel 3. I'm using the console EQ. I can see it's engaged there. And I have the AM10 op amps and GAR 990s in the summing. All the rest is straight mic pre's and microphones and preamps. I am bussing out all 10 drum tracks into the API 2500 and returning it to the drum bus left and right. Bass guitar is coming straight down, no EQ on the board. I'm using outboard EQ and compression, which I will show you. It's the gate stay level on a 550B. Guitar left and right, this is one guitar player playing two different amps with a splitter pedal, and I mic'd it with two different microphones, two different amps, and I hard panned it left and right. So these two channels is one guitar player. And I am not using outboard EQ, I am using onboard EQ. As you can see, they're pushed in here. So I'm using some EQ on the console, which sounds gnarly, and I'm going through the germs on that one. And I will show you that when we see the outboard gear. Guitar C, which is a little tucked in the mix, distorted guitar coming up the center to fill in the bottom. No onboard EQ, I'm using outboard 550. Guitar C, again, I'm using an outboard 550 EQ. Kick in, DBX 160. Snare top, DBX 160. Now I'm just getting some snap with these, okay? Just a little bit of snap. I'm only doing about 2 dB of a gain reduction on them. DBX 162, that's a backup vocal thing. We're not going to go through that right now because it's not in the breakdown of the song. And that's the only thing we're going through right now. The germs you see here, this is the one guitar player going through 2 amps with the splitter pedal. So I'm using onboard EQ on the MCI console, and I'm coming through these 2 germs. I have it patched in the inserts, send and return on those 2 channels. And if you could see the wet dry here, I am very much towards dry. And look at the attack and release. Hardly any compression going on. I am high passing 60, so everything below 60 hertz is not being touched by the compressor on the low end. And I have it on R soft, and that's the main guitars. Next up is these distressors. Those are the main vocals. The Fatso, again, that's a group backup vocal thing, and you're not going to hear it in the breakdown of this song. Next up is the API 2500. I am bussing all 10 drum mics out of my console, hitting this API 2500 just right, and returning it to channel 11 and 12, and I'm tucking it in the mix just how I want. Next up, the Allen Smart. This is on the mix bus, and if you could see, I have it on automatic release, doing a tad of makeup in ratio 3. And I have my high pass side chain engaged. Valley People is not being used during this part of the song, so we won't go through it. Let's move over here. Don't pay attention to this up here. What this is written for is a different band's mix. The first 550A, that's a hand-wired edition. It's a new one, but it's hand-wired just like the old ones. Beautiful sound in EQ. That's for a backup vocal, so we aren't going to use it. The second one's not even being used. The third one is being used for bass guitar. The second 550B is on the main vocals. Just adding some bite to the top end there. And then this one here is a vintage original, very first 550. That is going through that center guitar, just being tucked underneath to fill in the bottom of the mix, the center. And there's no compression on that. That's only this here, this 550 EQ. The clean guitar that you hear, that is very predominant throughout the whole mix because it's adding the definition to the guitars, is the second 550 EQ. And I love these EQs. Those are my favorite EQs. Over to here, you seen that the bass guitar was going through that 550B, and this beautiful original gate stay level. Nothing sounds like them. It's awesome on bass. I'm clipping this on purpose to get distortion because it sounds awesome. We're going for a lo-fi, nasty, grungy sound, and it's amazing. So from memory, all vocals went through this vintage Neve 1066, and the drums, bass, and guitars, or actually the bass guitar went through these API 325s preamps. These are line amps and preamps. They're amazing. And then the main guitar player that's going through two different amps is going through a pair of 1272s. The kick was 1272s. The snare was vintage API. The toms was vintage APIs. The overheads was 1272s. The hi-hat and 1272s. The room was 1272. And then I think I added a crotch mic, which was in between the drummer's legs, basically over the kick drum. And that was going through, I believe, an API 312 and being smashed with a distressor in real time. Everything you hear is off the 2 mix of the board. So I'll be printing in real time so you could hear it. So what that means for people that don't know that, I have all the individual tracks, the drums, the bass, the guitars, the vocals, and everything coming across the board. Kick drums, snare, toms, overheads, bass guitar, guitars, clean guitar, add-on guitars, vocals, backup vocals, and they're all summing down the console off the stereo left and right 2 mix of the board, and that's when I'm printing, when I say print, and that's the purple track right there. So you'll see that in real time.